listeners and supporters of Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM. Join Miss Tye for Tea with a Twist. Visit our website at www.hindsightmediaradio.com, where there's always something good to talk about. Hindsighters, welcome to Tea with a Twist. I am your host, Miss Tye. Remember to visit our website at www.hindsightmediaradio.com, where there is always something good to talk about. Donate, subscribe, advertise, and support other podcasts. So joining me tonight, I have Lisa, Clivette, Shanique, and Tish. And of course, you are my favorite faithful listeners. Welcome, ladies, and thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Be here.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tonight, we're just going to go into some tea, and always feel like you can put your twist on whatever you have. Don't hold back. Let's just enjoy the ride. So we're going to start off with the television show, or I guess it was a Netflix show called A Fall from Grace. You guys familiar with that?
Yes, saw it. It was great.
All right. So, well, Clivette, you say it's great, but there are many people that will disagree with you now. You have some,
I'm sure.
there are some naysayers out there in the public that are just not agreeing with the role Tyler Perry is playing. They're basically feeling like Tyler Perry's storyline of Black women is getting old. So what do y'all think about that?
Well, for me, I don't think that it's getting old because it's still happening. It's still happening. You can call them cougars. It's always been okay for a man to date someone younger than him, be it about money, you say you're in love, whatever. But when a lady does it, more so than anything, it's looked upon as being negative. My thing is, I just never thought, it's very few people that can meet somebody, fall in love, high school sweethearts that you just met somebody for this first time and you just fell in love. That's rare. And for me, it was more of an education. She did give it some time. I think in the movie, it might have been a couple of weeks or a couple of months, before she, fell for him as hard as she did. But it was one thing my grandmother used to always tell me: if you don't know a man for all of the seasons, you don't know a man.
Well, elaborate, what does she mean by that? What does she
mean
by
that? That you should take all of the seasons to get to know somebody. That's going to take a while. It's not a week. It's not a month. It's not 2 months. All the seasons. That long for you to get to know somebody, even slightly, to think about getting married to them. I think we jump in too fast. Anybody can make you feel good. I can fake long enough to make you feel good for some months just to get whatever it is that you have. And I don't think people think about it like that. Yes, this person is making you happy, but people act differently in winter when you're good and snuggled up than you do in the summertime when it's hot. Oh, school.
But that's called cuffing season in the winter, right?
Yes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's it. People act differently in different seasons. And ladies, I just think that it's real crazy for you to marry somebody that you know nothing about their family. You've never been to a family reunion. You've never been to this person's job. You've never been to their home on numerous occasions. Not just once. When you look at the movie, did they ever show her going to his home? No. Did she ever meet any of his family? No.
Well, indirectly, she did.
How?
We'll get to that in a minute, but indirectly, she did.
Okay. Well, yes, because that she didn't know that was his connection.
Right.
You know what I mean? She had never met anybody in his family, no friends. The only people that she saw around him were the people that was at his grand opening.
That's true.
And obviously, they didn't even know him.
Okay.
Well, Miss Courtney, I agree with you somewhat. Like when it comes to they saying that Tyler Perry's things are redundant or he keeps playing this, but it is going on. And it's not only going on in African American communities, it's going on in Caucasian and other relationships. There is a one called Dirty John. I don't know if you've listened to that podcast or seen that one, where this man literally just pretended he was a doctor, he was a surgeon. The guy got up and went to work every day. And then he tried to wipe this lady blind and attempted to kill her daughter.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is real thing. I mean, she was a professional interior designer. She had a lot of money. The man was living out of his car. I mean, he went to work, put on scrubs every day morning, and went to work, a so-called surgeon. And the man did not have $2. So I agree with you when you said that it's not played out. We just don't like to keep seeing it, but I think it's not played out. And in regards to the 4 seasons, me, myself, I did not do that with my husband. Mario is my 3rd boyfriend, and I married him. So my first boyfriend, when I was in my 15, 13, 14 years old, and I had a second one around 17, 18, then I married Mario. So I had 3 men in my life that I had relationships with, boyfriend, girlfriend, and I married Mario. Mario asked me to marry him 6 months after. And the immediate family that he had was his dad. And yes, I would go see his dad because he lived with his dad at the time, but not really deep conversations. But in our culture, Mario's mother is in Haiti, so he paid for me to go to Haiti, and I went to Haiti for 7 days so that his family can not only meet me, but know who I am. So
exactly. That's my point.
Yeah,
you met his family. You met his dad. You went to his home.
Yeah.
You knew something more about him. And now I'm not saying that every couple, like I said, you have your high school sweethearts that they falling in love right out of high school and get married. You have that couple of people that meet each other and they fall deeply in love and they're married, until they pass. But those are so far and few between. And there's so much going on right now that we need to do that. I've seen too many young girls, for instance, you're dating a guy and you've been dating him for several months. Christmas time comes around, Valentine's Day comes around, Thanksgiving comes around, and so-called he's always traveling. His family lives in a different place. Okay, if that was your true boyfriend, he would want his family to meet you just like your husband's did. Exactly. Your husband wanted his family to meet the love of his life. If you've never met any of his people, you don't know him.
Exactly. I agree with you. And then for me, I got married 6 months after I met Mario, but I would never advise that for my kids to do that. Because in our culture too, it was all, how you say in English, you have the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase was over real quick when you realize certain habits that the person has. And in our culture, we're not allowed to live together. So there's certain things that you won't know until you actually marry this person.
Exactly.
And freedom to be with this person. So that's something that I would not advise my kids to. But culturally, in my culture, it is something that we don't traditionally have 1 year, 2 year relationships. You don't. After a certain age, you are graduated from college. Our families traditionally don't want us to date because then it makes it seem as if that you're not being, how you say.
And let them know your culture.
Yes,
so that
like you're being loose. You're being a woman of the streets, like you're just, going from guy to guy. So they don't, in our culture, they don't like that. So they want to minimize how many men you do bring to your family. And so when they feel as if it's the right one, you will have the support from your family. But I totally agree with you that you do need to know this other person throughout a good amount of time, which I think, like you said, like your grandma said, 4 seasons. Because when it's the beginning of the year, some of these guys, they rolling in nice cars because guess what? They just got their taxes, so they all got, I like to say, taxes. Next month in March, everybody have paper plates. okay? And then in December,
Yep.
they don't have a car because what? They're already late on their payments, and so now they don't have the money. So then you'll be able to see, like you said, in different seasons, how these people really are. So they have the money at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, they can't even buy you a mug from the Dollar Tree.
It's a shame.
Exactly. And that was just old school. You know, that was something that she did old school. I wanted my family to do differently than I did. You know, I just wanted you to do differently than I did. And they did. And it turned out a whole lot better. Yeah. You know, some do, some don't. Not all of them. You know, not all of my children, but some turn out, some don't turn out in the way that, you know, the way that the relationships go. You can never plan on a relationship to do anything. It has to take its course. But that's the key thing in what we're trying to say is let it run a course. If it doesn't run a course, you don't know that person. If you don't know where they work, you've never seen their home, you've never met their family, you don't know them. So why would you marry somebody that you don't know? That's how we get into the issues that we're seeing over and over again.
And sometimes it's not even about knowing the family. It's seeing how they interact with their family. Because I remember my first boyfriend, I was like 14, 15 when I met him. And he was a young man in the church. He had 2 younger sisters that he was basically responsible to take care of because his dad and his parents were in Haiti. And I remember one thing that my dad said to me, because I guess my dad did his research on him. He said, how are you going to be with a boy, he called him a boy, even though he was over 18, a boy who he lets anybody goes in and out the house to be with his sisters when his father left him in charge, and then his father beats his mom. And so I was like, that's not him, Daddy. If his dad did something to his mom, he didn't do it. And then my dad, and I said, Dad, if his sisters bring guys over, that's not him, Daddy. His sisters don't listen. So when you're young, you don't think, but then now, as I got older, I would always think of it like, yeah, that means he did not have some type of stability or order or certain things that he was not exposed to. So maybe if I did end up with someone like that, not to say that he would hit me, but maybe he wouldn't know how to show affection because he never saw it growing up. Or maybe he would be relaxed and just let things happen because he's like, yeah, you know, it's not me. You know, but I always remember my dad saying that to me. I was like, but Dad, it wasn't him. His dad did that to the mom. Or his sisters, they don't want to listen. They're teenagers. But no, he was right. And I think the Bible even says that a lot of people in the church, they take positions like deacons and elders. And the Bible says, if you can't control your home, then how can you control outside? So that's why a lot of people in the church, you know, they come dressed to the nines, and then I said their kids are, you know, doing things that are not good. Not to say that it's something against the parent, but you have to pull yourself aside and say, why is it that you can't keep control of your home, but then you come to the pulpit and come to the church and tell us and everybody else what they need to do? Not to say that it's because you did anything per se yourself, but you should have some form of order in your home, you know, than for you to come out and preach. So I hear what you're saying.
All right, Lisa. So what's your take on all of this, Lisa? And let's get back to the movie of Fall, you know, A Fall from Grace, and let's talk about from that aspect and all of the critics and how people are feeling the way Tyler Perry is portraying the Black women or women in general. So can you speak to that, Lisa?
I've read the reviews and it's mixed. I have not seen it yet, but so far from the movies that I've known of Tyler Perry to have written, I feel this way. A lot of stuff is just it's entertainment. Some stuff is true. Some things are, you know, just for the film. I'm a woman, and I do my utmost to be that in every sense of the word. So I'd separate myself from that's what's on film. Now, I'm not saying, again, that all of it is inaccurate. I'm just saying I know how I am. So I really don't take offense because he's a filmmaker. That's how he sees things.
Exactly.
Right.
That's his version. And I'm not taking away from his version. That's his version. Right. That's how he sees it. But out of the movies that I've seen from him thus far, I have always been able to take something away from it that was positive. So in the midst, so a lot of times when we look at movies, we're looking for always just being just rosy through the whole thing. No, in life, it ain't that way for real. Right. And sometimes, again, I look at what he's portraying, but I also look at how it can bring a person together or to help you to think, because I feel that's what he is doing. He wants us to think and showing what reality is, but want us to think and appreciate and love all at the same time. So I got that. I've never felt that, that's his portrayal of women. Well, that's a portrayal of those type of women. I know I'm not like that. So I got it. So I like that, to the fact that at least that there's something that you could take away from this movie, even if you don't particularly agree with all of it. Again, he's a filmmaker, so it's going to be, his version, and that's cool. But like I said, I don't take offense to it. He do what he'd have to do, and I take away a positive message from his film.
Can I add something, Miss Lisa? It's like when you watch a Steven Spielberg movie, you look for the gory, you look for the confusing plot, you look for a certain type of, or you expect a certain type when you look at certain movies by certain producers or directors. Just like the guy who did the Rush Hour. I think him and Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. Chris Tucker, I think, was one of the first people that he worked with, and he did several movies with him. And if you look at the type of movies that he has later on produced, they're comedic and they're a little gritty and they're like odd couples, main characters. It's like the director or the producer usually has their niche. It's usually a certain type of movie that they do. So for me, like I'm sad that he no longer even does. Every summer we knew he would come out with some kind of a movie, and he hasn't done that in a while. And for me, I liked it, and it just reminds you of things that go. And I think he even says that one time. He says a lot of the characters and the people that he put movies about and shows are about people that he grew up with, his aunts, his uncles.
Right.
So I think
his grandmother.
That's his version, So it's like for him, I expect that for him. He did that last movie when we went together to go see it, and I was like, oh, he's showing a little bit more skin. I'm like, oh, go Tyler Perry, because he had never gone to that extreme. But that movie that he did, that's traditional Tyler Perry. The plot is letting you know of a woman that's trying to get through the other side because of something that's happening to them in life.
Exactly.
I just expect that.
Well, my point too is that for me, I'm just tired. I'm tired of people always having something to say about anybody doing anything. It's always something negative that has to come out of somebody trying to do something positive. Just like you said, the man is a filmmaker. If you don't want to see the kind of films that he makes, don't go.
Right.
We love him. We who like Tyler Perry movies love the movies. If you don't like that type of movie, or you feel that this movie is bringing down, a certain group of women, obviously, I'm a black female. I don't think so. I'm going to the movie. If you don't want to go, don't go. Why can't we just leave it at that?
Well, I think that mainstream media and the critics can often be a little salty because he is winning. I mean, the opinions that are being taken, a lot of the opinions are just narratives from the media. I mean, you got to admit, the media can definitely put some salt on a lot of things. They can twist and turn things. So,
they give a lot of momentum.
Absolutely. So
well, here's a hint to them. We don't listen to them anyway. They can give us 50 reviews, and if I want to go and see the movie, I'm going to see the movie, whether you say it's good or not. And this is all the way back from Roger and Ebert. Everybody used to love them. Right. And by their reviews, people went or didn't go to movies. And I literally saw that in offices and places that I worked, that if they said it wasn't any good, they didn't go and see it. Well, my thing is, hello, America, use your brain. Use your brain.
Yeah.
And if it's something that you want to go see or something that you want to go do, don't let somebody else's opinion keep you from that. That's the issue that I have with mainstream. Somebody says something and people just literally take that and run with it. It's like, look back at movies like, what was it, Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, where it had gotten to a world where everybody was dressing alike and everybody ate the same foods and you couldn't say this or you couldn't say that. We're really getting to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say, like, from the movie standpoint of it, once you have a chance to look at it more in depth, the movie was really intriguing. It was real. It was eye-opening. It was very thought-provoking. It was unpredictable. It was suspenseful.
Right.
Things we see in all these other movies. Shanique, I believe you mentioned, some of the horror gore movies earlier, and it's suspenseful, unpredictable.
Exactly.
So kind of similar to like the Lifetime movies. Similar to the Lifetime movies that we often watch, and then
right.
It's good stuff. And I will honestly say, from a con side of it, if it was more than 5-day recording, they may have had a little bit more time to clean up some of the parts of the movie. But all in all, I think that it was necessary. It was raw. It was natural. It was good. It played out very well. It kept you on your toes, and you made you a little upset that when it ended, you're like, well, this is it. It made you want more at the end, in my opinion, basically. But there was also some comedy to it. One of the comedies, I don't know if for those of you that have watched it, where the man was sitting in the restaurant, in the diner, and he's up there drinking air and eating air. I'm like, that is nothing in that glass. That glass is empty. He didn't put not one piece of food on that dang on fork.
Right.
I'm like, maybe that was the comedy side of it. Maybe that was meant to do that,
They added in bloopers.
Absolutely.
And
so,
for us to see. Or if you were paying attention.
Well, here's my thing. There was a lesson in each part of the story, regardless if you don't like the information that Tyler Perry puts off, if it seems redundant or repeated or what have you. There is a lesson to take away from each one of it, because it's relative to today. When you talk about the depression and you talk about, yes, maybe Tyler Perry does have a fixation on mental and emotional distress of Black women. And, mental illness is huge. And maybe that's his plot, but that also could be his cry. That could be his cry to the world, and to the world saying, hey, wait a minute. We're continuing to see this, especially in the community that he relates to, which is the Black community. We're continuing to see emotional distress. We're continuing to see this mental illness, bipolar, and it's been ignored. So maybe if I continue to make these movies and these television shows, at some point, maybe somebody will get it. They will get so tired of me putting it out there, which he's still going to continue to do, but maybe they will take a stance and they will fight for emotional distress, mental illness, bipolar. It's so real and it's relevant to discuss, and there has to be some laws governing in order to get these things fixed, because it's serious. I mean, so that's just why I take it, and possibly that's where he's going with all of this. And it needs to be a discussion.
Well, I think so. And it's a healing process watching the movies, period. Right. You see the beginning, you see the middle, and then you see the ending, which usually in his movies, there is a positive ending of some sort. This last movie, that to me was an open door. It was an open door for that last character, which we don't want to say because there is somebody that's listening to this that hasn't seen the movie. For that last character, the last thing that you see in the movie, for everybody that saw it, there is still an opening there for a next movie.
Yeah, and also I think too, what I look at it is sometimes when you see things on TV you didn't think of. Like you didn't think of, so-and-so. It could bring light to something that is right in front of you, going on to some
exactly. There were stories like that in the past, I'll say 7 years. or more. You've seen several stories that were exactly like that. It might not have been, well, let me not say exactly, that had some of the same premise.
Right.
Even right here in Atlanta, Sandy Springs.
Absolutely.
Something similar. So this is happening. You do need to know about it. You know, long time ago, you wouldn't have been able to do something like that because your neighbors were always watching.
Nosy.
That's a point to have in the movie. Your neighbors were always watching, or you had family members that came to check on, you know, even young single. Somebody knew where you were. Somebody went to grandma or auntie so-and-so's house who, you know, had lost her husband or didn't have any children and she's gotten older. You know, it was always somebody watching. Maybe that's a point of the movie, that we as a people, not just Black people, because if you watch the movie, towards the ending of the movie, you seen it was a lot, from the beginning of the movie, you can tell that it wasn't just about Black women.
Right, absolutely.
For those who saw the movie, okay, it wasn't just about Black women. So maybe that's one of the you know, something that we need to take from the movie, that we need to start paying attention to our families and our friends and our neighbors more.
Right, and well, you're right. I can somewhat agree with that, to the neighbor part, because I'm going to be honest. When I come home, I want to come home. I don't want to build a strong relationship with my neighbor. You know, if something happens, yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing your name, having your number. We can watch each other's houses. Like, I have a camera in my house, so, you know, my camera can watch it for you.
Right.
But I'm not trying to be, you know, me and you are never part.
Bring the Jello mode and say, hey, neighbor. But we don't have to. But you should at least, how many people do not know their neighbors' names?
Absolutely. That's right.
You come in the house every day, you don't speak, nothing. But if this place catches on fire or if somebody's breaking in, then you'll wish you knew my name.
Yeah, well, that's why you have cameras. You know, listen, I just keep my cameras.
Yeah, but everybody is not blessed to have cameras.
Yeah,
you're right.
And the camera is not going to help if, like the situation that was going on in the movie, the camera would have helped, but that's only if your neighbor cares enough to call somebody and let them know that they've seen, you know, we can't give the movie away, but they've seen some shenanigans going on in the house next door.
Well, you know, the issue, you know, I agree with that. I agree with that, but you know, the issue is that the world we live in now, if things seem much better, because like you say, you don't know what's going on in your neighbor's neighbor's yard or next door, and it is good to have some form of communication or introduction to have that, but with some distance. You know, I definitely think that there should be some distance, unless now there's some people in neighborhoods you're quite fine with. I live in a fine neighborhood, however. The world that we live in today, you do have to be careful who you bring into your space. So it becomes more of especially when you have children. So that's just my biggest part. Yeah.
You can still be like me. I've been here for a short amount of time, but I know our neighbors' routines. Like one time, one of the neighbors, she came in and she came from work. I came home, her garage is open. I went back out, came back, it was open. I'm like, I know this family, even though I've been here a short time, their lights are usually all by 9 o'clock. So I said, somebody forgot to close the garage. So I sent Mario over to knock on the door and then, okay, fine. But we just say, hey, neighbor, hi, neighbor. We wave.
Exactly. We don't have to be best friends, but you should at least know who your neighbors are, what they look like. Wave and say good morning, hello. You know, I'm not saying that we have to sit down and have dinner together 3 times a week. Actually, I don't even know except one of my neighbors where I am who has actually been inside of my home, but I know your name. We say good morning. We say hi to each other's children. You know, hey, so-and-so, at least that. And
Yeah, well, and I
this
think it's a
world is not
setting
like that.
boundaries too. I think so because I do have one neighbor. She's phenomenal. She and her husband, and she'll come. She'll say, "Martha Stewart." She calls me Martha Stewart. I know you got some eggs over there. I know you have some eggs, Martha Stewart. So I'll say, "Okay, come on over,
Exactly.
get your eggs." But listen, I set boundaries though. I say I like my space. Let me let you know. You can't come over here and just sit and have a conversation. All of that's out the door. It's gotta go.
Exactly.
But you build
But
that, so I
you know
understand what
what
you're
your
saying.
neighbor looks
Yeah,
like. You know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely.
You know what your neighbor looks like, and it would seem unusual to you if you didn't see her for a couple of weeks and
Absolutely.
the house is just dark. At least you would think something like that. Think about the person that was in that movie who in the end initially helped the situation. She must have been by herself where she was living. Once again, we can't give away the movie.
Right. Well, we can give a little twist. We can give a little twist away to it, and the twist would have been that what's also important is elderly abuse. You have to understand that you have to be careful because there could be some elderly abuse going on, and the person doesn't even have to be a relative of yours. So that's also important. Absolutely. Well, ladies, listen, let's do this here. So, of course, as always, we have to take a moment to refill our tea, and we will return after commercial break.
Does your company look or logo need a facelift? Help is on the way. The Spalding Agency is a brand design firm specializing in art direction, advertising, and marketing communications. They are a proud sponsor of Tea with a Twist. Visit online at spaldingagency.com. Follow at Spalding Agency on Facebook or call 404-487-8632 for all your creative needs. The Spalding Agency.
All right, Tea-licious Hindsighters, welcome back to Tea with a Twist. Again, I am your host, Miss Tye, and joining me tonight are these lovely ladies on the panel, Lisa, Clivette, Shanique, and I believe Tish is still joining us. So I want to thank you guys for coming on to Tea with a Twist. There's been some great conversation.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, we were talking about the movie A Fall from Grace, and we were talking about emotional distress and mental illness and bipolar and all that stuff. We touched on just a little bit. So with that being said, I think I would like to also touch on the Delonte West. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to see that link where Delonte West, oh my gosh, he's a former NBA player, and he was, played on a couple of teams. And I think it was like the Cavaliers and a couple others. Nevertheless, there are two videos surfacing around with Delonte and all of the, I guess, mental illness that he's dealing with. And one video that started surfacing around, I think, last week sometime, it was of him getting beat by someone. And then the second video was just him he was a little disoriented and just mumbling in his words, and he was arrested. He had been arrested, and he was sitting on the curb in handcuffs. So with that being said, I often wonder, being that he was in the NBA, do you guys feel that it's the responsibility? Because this is not new. This stuff did not happen. It didn't happen just overnight. Somebody had to see this man getting to the point where it was a lead up to. And it could have been just a few short things, and then nobody paid attention to it, or they just ignored it. So what did you guys think about that when you saw those clips? It was very disturbing, to say the least.
It was. When I looked at that, and I was like, wow, my heart goes out to him and his family. I did read at the end, it said that the NBA had reached out to him and the family. Now, at what point did they reach out to him? Afterward or during? And sometimes with bipolar, and I am not a doctor in no way, shape, or form, but I know of a couple of people that have bipolar. They were telling me that as they were growing up, they didn't even know themselves, and their parents didn't know at the time, because it wasn't. It just something that people just thought that you're just a little strange. And with many people who have that condition, you usually can't tell that they have it unless something brings it out. Now, when he was playing ball, was some of his behavior strange, or they just thought it was just him, or was it something that maybe under stress brought something out that they ignored and just looked at him as being a great basketball player or whatever? So it's difficult to tell if they knew at the time, because with bipolar, with some people, not all, it's difficult to tell. You have to be under a certain, in a certain light to really see. And some people just really think, oh, that's just him. Oh, that's just him. He would go off like that. Or you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but to see him now, it kind of makes you wonder, how was he like amongst his team members, and the coaches? Did they realize that something was going on with him? Not sure, but definitely for sure that is something that we need to talk about, because it's growing in popularity. People don't want to talk about it because the first thing they say is that they think you're crazy. And again, they may have said, again, that's just him. That's just him. But in retrospect, it was actually the condition. So I don't know. I don't know, but I definitely would say for sure, sometimes when you are making an organization money, they'll kind of turn, and I'm not saying the NBA itself, but sometimes with some organizations, if you're making them money, they'll kind of turn their back a little bit, like, as long as he's making that money, good. Yeah, a blind eye. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know. Again, I'm just throwing out different things, different scenarios. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false, but you can just see that type of behavior, like Ty mentioned earlier. It's not something that happened overnight. It was there. I just don't know if they realized how what condition he was in. Right.
If they knew what it was, it is. I think I don't know what the cause is. I'm like you, Lisa. Don't have a medical degree. But I do work with special needs children. And I think that we, as a United States, need to start putting more money towards mental illness, period. When you see it downtown, you see it on the streets. And the sad part about it is that a lot of these people could be helped, and we just find other things to do with the money instead of helping people who need to be helped. And they're there. You're walking, if people only knew how many people walking down the sidewalks with you every day really did have some type of a mental illness, I guarantee you more people would be backing trying to do something about it, because they're there.
Well, let's keep it real. I mean, really, people watch, they participate, and then they witness all of these things happening, and then they often say, I'm minding my own business. Kind of like I said with the neighbor thing earlier, but I'm not trying to do all that. I'll be courteous, but that's the furthest it goes. So oftentimes we can be guilty of that, because the world that we live in now, we believe in minding our own business. So, but let's take the R. Kelly and the Bill Cosby and the Harvey Weinstein, and for example, in all the issues that they're going through, we know that all of a sudden it went boom, right? But we know that this didn't just happen overnight. We know that these are things that's probably been happening for ages. And what did people do? They watched, they probably participated, they probably, they witnessed it, and to whatever their benefit was, they just, because there may have been, now I could be wrong, they could have gotten something out of it, whether it be payment, whether it be exposure, building their brand or their business, or who they are in the limelight. So let's just think about this. People see the signs, they're always there, but oftentimes we ignore those signs because once again, we're going to mind our own business. And like I was saying, maybe they were benefiting from the relationship of knowing that individual. So
that's exactly what I was saying.
Right.
Exactly. That's a big organization, and trust and believe. That's why I just threw out scenarios. I don't know for sure, but all I could say definitely is that a lot of times when you're doing good for them, organizations, period, sports or whatever, they have been known to, as long as you're doing good, you're okay, no problem.
Well, look, I'm just like Ty on this one. No, long as you're making them money, or long as you're getting money, or long as you're keeping your positioning, because you're, it's a movie. Oh, I can't think of the name of the movie, but the guy is a driver, and he drives for people with big money. And the things that he's letting go on in the back, this limo, for years, just to keep your job, to feed your family. I can't, that's where, it gets kind of crooked, because you're letting all of this stuff happen, but you're keeping quiet so that you can keep your job to feed your family in hard times. So it's like, what do you do? And some of these people have money enough to crush you where you'll never work again anywhere.
Well, to give you another side of it is these type of organizations, the NBA, the NFL, all of the organizations, those teams, they have people that work and do certain things. Like I was watching the Aaron Hernandez documentary.
Right.
They have people, if you need a house in a certain city, they give you a name and a number. If you have keep having migraines, they give you a number to a doctor so you can go to help with migraines. You have tooth issues. They have people on their roster that they specifically do certain things. It's one or two. One, this young man did not know he had bipolar. He learned to deal with his thing. He could have been the aggressive person. He could have been the person that said he's just talkative. He could have been the person that he just can't wait his turn, where people, because they don't understand or know what mental health presents itself as, just like back in the day, our generation, kids that are, I'm not going to say kids, people that are, let's say, 35 and up, you can pull 1,000 people, 35 and up, in different states. You might find 5 people with autism. You might find 2 with ADHD. From 20 to now, you
Come on with it.
people,
Come on with it.
Find 600 with ADHD.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Find about 400 with autism. So because it wasn't something that they knew, he's African American. He's loud. He's a basketball player. So he's gonna be showboaty. He's gonna be somebody that one day he's like flashing all his jewelry and flashy cars.
And
next
maybe
time
not.
he's proud because he lost the game. So maybe they don't know, but they do have the people. Either he himself was never properly diagnosed, and believe it or not, we have people that come to our clinic, 20-something-year-old. We have a lady that came the other day. She is 40, diagnosed finally by my doctor with autism. Went through life. The lady could barely do the application. She was crying because it was too much stimulation for her to recall all this information. Can you imagine going through life so long and not being properly diagnosed?
But let me ask you this question. Because you work in that field, why is it that, I'm hearing you to where nobody around her obviously noticed that she had, something wrong, or they didn't have the monies. That could be a reasoning. But I really want to know why, when I was back in high school, for our special needs, we had maybe 4 or 5. Now it's just a big snowball. What happened?
What happened is that now people are not equating behavior with just behavior. Now, because the African-American kid can't sit still, before the African-American kid that couldn't sit still, it was, it's because, his parents probably don't feed him Kool-Aid and junk food all day long, and he doesn't sleep right. No. But then now when Billy, the Caucasian kid who goes to bed at 7, and then he eats vegetables and protein and a well-balanced meal every day, is doing the same thing that Jerome is doing, we have to ask ourselves. It's not a cultural thing. It's not because of their income. That's why they're eating different meals. What's going on? Oh, there's something going on underlying with this child. It could be genetics. It could be something that happened at birth. It could, whatever it may be. So now we are now looking outside of that, because now we can't just classify certain type of people with certain things. So then that's what happened, because more people were coming up with the same issue. So then it forced us to think. Autism has changed from Asperger to, before it was something called before another name, because guess what? They're still learning it.
Right.
And when we have these kids, and then with this lady, she's high functioning. High functioning means that she can walk in a room, she'll make eye contact with you, and she'll smile, beautiful teeth, nicely groomed. You won't know she has autism. You won't know that she struggles to read. You won't know that she has anxiety when people get too close to her. It's certain things, because it presents itself so many different ways. So this young man, because he was an athlete, his outlet could have been when he's on the field. When he's on the field, he can turn a switch on and he can perform a certain way. But then when he's outside of that environment, he may become someone else. And that's where I say that it's either one, he personally did not know, so he can go ask for help. And then when he was in an environment with these people, they did not know. I wouldn't even put it on the league at this point. I would put it on his family. People who saw him morning to night to see his moves and see his personality. Those are the people, because those people see him on the court, they blow the whistle, he's performing. So they may not have the full full picture of who he really is, because on the court he's a performer, he's an athlete. When he's at home, he's someone different.
It's an education though, so you have to, I understand you're saying that it's family, but you do have to understand that sometimes the family don't know, because they have not been educated. You're not necessarily, and maybe they are educated and they just don't understand. They don't understand the magnitude of it or what's behind it. Again, like Lisa was saying earlier, they could just be saying it's just who he is. It's just how he acts. Yeah. At the end of the day. So, and let's just put it out there. I always say, and I say over and over and over, that opinions are like butt hoes. Everybody have one, and sometimes they can stink. So come on. And at the end of the day, we have to be careful, because we also have to realize that every person in the Black community is not made up like that. Every person in the Black community, there are many educated Black individuals. We're all sitting here on this call right now. We're all educated, and it's one of those things where we have to be honest and say, well, every Black person also don't drink Kool-Aid. Every Black person didn't come from a weird area. It's a stereotype. It's a stereotype, but what we don't want to do on platforms, we want to make sure that it's not that we can't be ignorant to it, because that's just not who all Black people are. So we want to be careful with putting that on the platform,
Yeah, because people will see you and they will classify you and say the reason why this brown kid is behaving this way is because of that. This Caucasian kid is behaving that way, and then it forced people to be like, why is this kid in a two-parent? You know what I'm saying? It forced people to stereotype. Exactly, because before they were saying this kid was rude, he was not listening. The parents are not doing everything at home. But when you had the same amount of a different race with the same situation, that's why a lot of schools adopted to have these kids, and that's why they decided to start testing the kids at school because of that. And
they need to start putting a little bit more money to it. We can spend money on everything else, start spending tax dollars on helping mental illness.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I will say that Tish had to drop off the call. But she wanted me to make sure, I know it's going backwards for a second here, but she wanted to be known on her point of view, back to the Tyler Perry situation. She just wanted to know that he is doing a great job out there, in her opinion, because he's defining his targeted audience. And we all know that in a business, and Lisa, you said it best when you were talking about it was his niche. He had to find his niche, and that's his audience. So he had to find his audience. And then also, we can't forget about our women. Women, we rule the world, right? Girls, we rule the world.
Yeah, girls.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are filmmakers out there, Ava, DuVernay and Jordan Peele, it's a male. Right. Steven Spielberg, who's male, but you have all these people out here that are doing the exact same thing. They all have the same goal, which is to entertain, right? Like we're on this call tonight, we're entertaining. Exactly. You're entertaining people who want to see, who want to hear. And even there'll be listeners listening tonight that may not agree with everything that we're saying. They can disagree. They'll put up whatever reply they want to put up, because once again, it's their opinion though. And you can't continue, you can't run your business off of one's, opinion. You have to go with, okay, maybe I can work on this in hindsight, right? So at the end of the day, art, like Tish says, art imitates life, and you have to respect the man's work, humor and all, no matter what comes from it.
Humor and all.
Absolutely. When one creates a sense of emotion in their work, in their artistry, they've done their job already. And also the same with Spike Lee. And this is all coming from what Tish is saying. Tyler Perry, he capitalized on his niche, and the floodgates, the floodgates open for this man. And he has been healing so many people, including himself, in the community. He has definitely given back in everything that he has done. So, Tish, we thank you for giving your input on that. But at the end of the day, yes, she is 100% correct. But it still falls in line, even when we're talking about Delonte West and his mental issues. It's just rapid. It is here. And we all know that at some point it is definitely an education. It is necessary to talk about if it's going to continue to be on the movies. If Tyler Perry is the one that's putting it out there, that means that is a cry to say that, yes, this is continuing to happen. Yes, it's all repeat on all of his shows and all of his movies, even maybe in music. At the end of the day, we have to make a difference. To Clee, to your point, spending, where are we putting our money? Homelessness is another thing. That is also in mental illness. We have to be careful. I mean, that's another episode. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're putting our money out there in the right places. And if you don't heal your mental, how are you going to move forward in anything else that you do?
That's correct.
Absolutely.
Well, I think correct. And two things. One, with the Tyler Perry thing, people change and people evolve. Like, I used to watch those movies with my mom. I used to watch them with my kids. The last couple of movies that I've watched with the kids, they're not into it anymore, but I'm still into it. So they've evolved to something different. So this is not their thing anymore, which is fine. So, okay, I will continue to watch and you can move on. And in regards to the mental health, we have to, just like how they do the physicals to make sure that they're able to run, their knees and their joints are okay, they're taking their vitamins, they need to make also the mental a requirement.
That's
if you
correct.
Look at a lot of these celebrities, like me, I know I couldn't do it because I wouldn't want that much pressure on me, but all eyes to be on me. I'm not that person. As loud as I speak, as passionate I am for certain things, I don't like to be the center of attention. So these people have a lot of pressure on them to perform. Are they mentally capable to do it? That's why a lot of them, they get the money today, and in 5 years they have nothing. You have some of them, like the Aaron Hernandez, they go and they have a double life. They're on the field, they're athletes, they're good, good performer. We win the Super Bowl because of you. And on the other side, they're going around threatening people, trying to be thugs and trying to kill people for no reason.
Right,
so
but you know what?
I think capable to deal with it. I think it should be something they should put routinely, like they routinely get their physicals, and they like it's on a schedule for their drug test. Why isn't their mental being checked as well to make sure that this person doesn't have a breaking point?
Because it's not big.
And maybe not that it's a mental in the beginning, because what we see on television as far as football and basketball, even hockey, these men and women's bodies are going through all kind of trauma continuously.
Yes.
That's the point. If they're not going to check it before, then you definitely need to be checking it during their tenure playing whatever sport it is that they're playing. Okay. Football, you're getting hit, every which way but loose. Basketball, the same thing. Hockey, the pucks are flying. The I don't even know what you call them. The sticks are flying. People are getting hit. People are fighting. It is trauma going on to these heads continuously. And it could be that too.
They invest in the athletes' hands, their feet, their body, because they know they need that machine to perform. But the mental, which controls all of that, it's an oversight. And I think when I looked at the video and I was like, you know what? I can see where maybe some people could know. I can see that. But after this has happened, has he received support so that he can get the help that he needs? Because we're looking at it we have experience with mental health, or people who don't have experience with mental health, we know that that's just not normal.
Well, yeah,
So
his teammates in the
but
NBA.
that's something else too that we have to look at. Had he had somebody around him like you and I, we would have been able to see that.
Really?
We would have been able to see it.
Would we though? Be honest. Let's keep it real. People are good at hiding it. Would you really have been able to see it? Think about all the people that were around him. Now, all of a sudden, now the NBA, they are coming to his rescue. I will admit, the NBA, they are posting comments out there. There are people that are stating that they are coming to his rescue to help him get over this hump, because now they see it. Oftentimes, we may be blinded to it. You may see somebody, and I think we posted like this in our group. We've talked about how you may see a person and they may seem like they're doing well, but you need to do a well check on people. Just because they're winning, they're winning Super Bowls, they're winning, championships and all these great things, but you still need to check on their mental. An average person, even if they're not a celebrity, just your average sister next to you or your neighbor, is there a mental? Are they having a breakdown? You have to just do a well check on people sometime to make sure that they're okay. Because just because they're smiling all the time, you don't know if they're going home and crying. You don't know what load is on them, but they're trained to be so strong that they can't, So Lisa, would you like to jump in? I know it seems like Shanique and Clear on the roll, honey.
No, I'm listening to them, and I agree. Like I said, when you're playing in sports and you have all that notoriety, a lot of times, again, even the family may say, "Oh, that person is gifted." A little strange, but that person is gifted. Well, what do you mean by strange? The behavior? Do you realize the ups and downs, the highs and the lows that the person is going through? Do they flip like a light switch? Then that's something like, well, wait a minute, wait a minute. He's gifted or she's gifted, but we need to check this out. So it depends again upon the family. It could be a generation thing. Again, some families just do not want to admit that my child has issues, or my husband or my wife have an issue. Don't just say, "Oh, that's just them. Oh, that's just them." No. If that goes out of the norm, and when I say out of the norm, again, from one minute to the next, they're unstable constantly. It's like, wait a minute. Like I said, I'm around a couple of people who are actually bipolar, and they take their medicine all the time. They tell me when they now understand it, because back in the day, because we're around the same age, back in the day, it was never diagnosed.
Or discussed.
Right. We didn't know what was going on. Her parents didn't know what was going on. She always knew that she was different. She felt that she was different, but she didn't know what it was until much later in life. Much later.
And so probably from what? From seeing it on some television station or the news where they said somebody was like this, or you saw somebody that was similar to with that type of aggression, or you saw it and somebody said this is what that was, so you started to go try to find out a little bit more about it. But it's there. And it may not be to that extent. I really feel that a lot of people have it. They just don't know. They, again, as Shanique mentioned about one of the patients coming in, it may not have to go to that far over to that, that far over on there. It could be that they're dealing just with little things. In families, you have things. It's okay to have it. Just recognize that you have it. Be willing to talk about it. That's why I talk to my kids about not just the physical health, but the mental health of the family from both sides. They need to know that, because guess what? When they go to the doctor's office, they fill out that paper. Guess what they ask you? You need to know. Exactly.
Hello? I didn't know so-and-so was like that. So they need to know. So just in case they may be experiencing something that they can't explain, it's not always just the physical, it's also the mental. So when we're going through things, I love that commercial that Queen Latifah has out about with the doctor. We always used to go to the doctor, just talk about physical. just the physical. A lot of our physical conditions come from our mental condition.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
High blood pressure, cholesterol. Come on, folks. Come on. It's not always what we think it is. It could be emotional distress, and we may not even know that we're under it. We don't know. Sometimes we don't know. So when we realize that, we become aware, we become educated in that area, then we can do something. I hope that this gentleman will accept the help, because you can reach out to someone.
Right.
They may not want it. And in my hope, I'm hoping that he'll reach out for that, because the NBA could reach out to him, his family could reach out to him, but he may say, you know what? I don't want your help. I'm going to live the way I live. So I'm hoping that he will accept, because no one can make him. No one can make him. I hope that he does accept it.
All right. Well, Hindsighters,
you know, for so long with it, he's gotten adapted, and that's what happens with a lot of people with mental illness. They adapt to it, and then people around them begin to adapt to it. But to go back to what Miss Tye was saying, like me, because I have experience with certain mental conditions, I can see a little one, and he's in the crowd with everyone else, and he's doing his thing, and I'm like, you know what? I see signs, only because one, I know what to look for.
Right.
Oh, he's just,
I see that in adults too.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to share. Or is that no, that's not good. But it's hard now for you to see a stranger that has a kid, like the kid the other night at Publix, screaming because he wanted something, and everything that dad did to try to console him, they're whining. But for him to go on the register and push everything off, how can you go tell a dad that reaction to him wanting something does not warrant his reaction to it right now? But
But like I said, you and I can see that, because we work in this field. We're talking about people who might not know what it is. And just to be honest with you, the kind of lives the life that he's living, high impact in the, in the sight of everybody all of the time, that's enough to put stress on a person within itself. I could not do that. Paparazzi, I'd be in court.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that every day. You think about somebody's life, that the money looks good and everybody wants to live that lavish life and have the big home and the cars and all of that. But it's a lot that goes along with that I could not do on a daily basis.
Perfect example. Look at what's the Duchess. I mean, this all-American girl married this guy with this high fame, and he looked like if he had married someone from that life, he probably would have carried on just like his brother and continued to do his responsibilities and his duties. And here they are, leaving fortune, leaving security, leaving wealth, leaving peace of mind. For what? So that they
I don't know about the peace of mind. I think that's what they didn't have.
That's exactly.
They didn't have anything to worry about when it came to finances. All they had to do is get up and go do these, go to these events. Now you have a different, you had peace of mind where you were good. You knew that someone would come do things for you. You knew you were just a phone call away to get what you need. And they had that peace of mind where it was a different type of life. But that wasn't enough for them, because the cost of all of that wasn't worth it. And one thing that I shared with a parent the other day that came in, and I had found this thing on a quote. It says, when you have a special child or person with invisible needs, the world does not understand your challenges. They don't feel your pain or your joy for the smallest bits of progress. This is a secret world that only those who live in similar circumstances can understand. So he didn't have anyone in his circle that had any mental illness. He didn't have anyone in his circles that dealt with emotions. So no one could relate, so no one could point it out.
Okay, exactly. Well, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So listen, ladies, y'all are not going, Hindsighters, you guys can't see because you're on my end, but I've had to send these ladies about 10 texts. They probably have not looked at their phone because they're on a roll.
Yes, I have.
Listen,
Yes, I have.
listen, they, Hindsighters, listeners, they are on a roll. So I'm going to say, I know that I am going to have these ladies on again at some point. But honey, this issue was serious to them, but I am super excited that they have definitely shared this message with you guys because it is necessary. And we see where the passion lies. And that's why we have platforms such as Tea with the Twist and so many others that are out there to educate you guys or just give an opinion about what's going on, because this is real at the end of the day. And I thank all of you. I thank you, Lisa. I thank you, Clivette. I thank you, Shanique and Tish,
my
who had
pleasure,
to
my
leave the call.
Our pleasure.
Yes, for joining us tonight. And, like I said, these ladies are passionate. I was just sitting here texting like, all right, now we got to pause. We got to go. We got to go. And Lisa sitting there texting me back. Lisa's texting me back, laugh out loud. And I'm sitting there texting Shanique.
I haven't gotten anything. I'm listening. Oh, yes, I have. Okay. See,
Listen,
that's how much you were on a roll.
They're on a roll, honey. But listen, I'm not mad at you guys. I truly am thankful for you guys joining me, and I hope that this will not be your last time joining me.
Not at all.
Absolutely. On Tea with the Twist, I'll have you back once again, and I thank you guys for joining us. So, Hindsighters, this cup of tea has been emptied out tonight, and if I did not end this, honey, they would have kept going all night. So, ladies, I have to tell you, thank you for your opinion, and thank you for joining Tea with the Tea. I am your host, Miss Tye. Please do not forget to go to www.hindsightmediaradio.com. Subscribe, donate, advertise, and please support the other podcasts on Hindsight Media 103.5 FM, because together we are family and we rock and roll. There is always something good to talk about on Hindsight Media 103.5 FM. Again, I'm your girl, your host, Miss Tye. Until next week, my faithful tea twisters. Peace, love, and hot tea with a twist. Good night.
You have just listened to Tea with a Twist. Join Miss Tye with special guests, including you, Mondays at 7 p.m. via www.hindsightmediaradio.com, where there's always something good to talk about.